MoistCritical is a man with a lot of money, and he's recently started investing it back into the video game scene. Inspired by so many solid speedrun history videos, Daddy Moist goes out of his way to pick some of the worst, most obscure games you've ever seen and turns them into a speedrunning competition. Anyone in the world is allowed to enter for free, and after 2 weeks, the top 3 runners split $10,000. So what disaster of a game did he pick for May 2023? The Elder Scrolls Adventures Redguard, where you play as Cyrus, the Redguard. It's very inventive stuff. Now I know what you're thinking. Whoa, Elder Scrolls, Skyrim, and funny broken Bethesda games. Well, if you can believe it, this game is bad. But we'll get into that a little later. But before I can do that, I have to install the game. Oh, cool. I originally downloaded the game through Steam, though it turns out that the Steam version is a complete disaster. Steam isn't recommended, by the way. Prefer to use GOG. Steam also has audio issues. Okay, Artemis, so then... Listen, I hate to make it sound like I am a dumbass. But how do I get the GOG version? So the Moist mod team made a guide on how to set up Redguard on Good Old Games, which is a platform devoted to making old games work on modern hardware. It's still not as simple as just installing the game. There's also a patch file the moderators made that you have to run to make the game consistent for everyone, which sets the game to 150,000 cycles. In other words, it kneecaps the game down to a whopping 15 frames per second. Other than making your eyes bleed, this also meant that the game's already horrible input engine ran even worse than before. But if everyone's game is garbage, then it's fair garbage, right? Right? So honestly, this isn't the most exciting looking game at a first glance, but I was optimistic. I wanted to give this a fair chance, since this challenge meant a lot to me. I had a reason for fighting and wanting to win. Let's get started, shall we? When I was just turning 18, I decided I wanted to be a professional opera singer. Music has always been incredibly special to me, and my dream was to use my voice as a way to travel the world and bring happiness to as many people as I could. Well, for one reason or another, I never became that famous singer I imagined myself becoming. I abandoned that dream when I became a full-time Twitch streamer, and while I never regretted that decision, I also accidentally forgot my dream of seeing the world. Until March 2023, when I traveled to Spain with my best friends, and my love of traveling came back full force. The instant I came back to America, I made the impulsive decision that I would move to the Netherlands this coming summer. However, this is really expensive since I'm basically leaving everything behind and starting over in a new country. There's the plane ticket, the basic furniture, the work visa I need to stay in the Netherlands, and other random expenses. After making a rough tally of all of that, I came up with a number around $6,000 US, which, wouldn't you know it, is exactly how much first place wins. So despite never wanting to do these challenges in the past, and despite being someone who was always afraid of chasing his dreams, I decided to do this challenge and bet my entire future on myself for the first time in my life. Okay, now that the game is actually running, I watched the old 2-hour run from Solitan and learned what I was supposed to do to navigate this mess. I practiced tricks I saw him do over and over again. For the most part, I spent all my practice time in this cave. I'd enter the cave, work on timing my jumps, fail to pick up the crap from this corpse for like 10 minutes straight, bait the boss into smacking this pillar, exit the cave, and reload. I was becoming a well-oiled cave machine. I didn't know anything outside of the first 20 minutes of the run, but damn, I was making good progress. I even accidentally found this cool skip. Whoa! Whoa! Somebody clip that! Somebody clip that! I grinded this for about 4 hours straight and said that's enough for now.
Like, GOG originally didn't run on my computer. So I had to go digging through, like, forums of way back, trying to figure out how to get the game set up just to be able to run properly. And that's when, like, I developed, like, a lot of the workings to just try to get the game to work. And then Solitan also built a batch file for all the changes that I made to the GOG version in order to get it to run. There's like 10 different commands and all sorts of files that were edited just to be able to make it run functionally.
I woke up the next day with more energy to take on this 2-hour mountain of a run. Oh, this 15-minute run, I guess. Fucking speedrunners, man. I don't know. This run had been completely destroyed already. What was even worse was that the cave was now skipped entirely, meaning all my practice had been for nothing. I had also severely underestimated how many insanely good speedrunners there were. In the pool of people I had to beat were one of the best Ori runners in the world, the GOAT of Tomb Raider speedrunning, a Cuphead demon, one of the best LEGO Star Wars runners in the world, and an absolute ocean of insanely good Super Mario 64 and Source speedrunners. But I'm something of a monster myself in the world of Ratchet & Clank speedrunning with many world records under my belt. There was even another god-tier Ratchet speedrunner named Scotta Bozo taking on this challenge with me. And while it was great to have a friend to share strats with, it didn't make the competition any less intimidating. I first needed to figure out what the hell saved an hour and 45 minutes. What I found was insane. We could skip from the palace straight to the end of the game by using something called sheath gliding. For some reason, if you unsheath your sword and then hold sheath, forward, and jump all at the same time, you slide forward and can go through really tiny cracks and doors, just like my slime monster sleep paralysis demon. In all honesty, I'm not really sure what all this actually skips. I just did what people told me to and saved a boatload of time. So now the route of the run looks something like this. Fight these pirates, get off the boat, run to the shop and buy some feathers. Fly to the god-awful bridges, cross those, sail to the graveyard, go get the amulet from this snail with some serious DSLs, sail back to the bridges, cross those again, get into the palace, clip through the door, collect the key from the palace interior, go outside of the palace courtyard, get up to Richten's blimp, fight Richten, and win. One bright side of the run being 2 hours long was that there was room to mess up, so the run was kind of comfy cozy. With the palace door clip, all of that was gone. Now this 15-minute laggy mess of a bridge jumping simulator would be my life for the next 12 hours a day, every single day. Every morning, I'd wake up at 10 a.m., eat a quick breakfast, meditate, and stretch. Then, at 11 a.m., I'd start my plan. 2 hours of practice, 1 hour of League of Legends. I'd do this over and over until I hit 12 hours with one food break in the middle. At 11 p.m., I'd go for a walk, relax a bit, and then fall asleep around 1 or 2 a.m. Repeat for 2 weeks, win the challenge, easy peasy. This plan went belly up almost immediately. I thought I was staying ahead of the game by grinding 12 hours a day, but I could not have been more wrong. There were multiple people grinding 16 to 20 hours a day, which I could never do. If I could only go for 12 hours, I needed to make the most of every second. So I uninstalled League after a few hours to focus that much harder on Redguard. I grinded all day, and the best I could muster was a 1706, nowhere even close to the world record of 1352 by Super Mario 64 runner Micky. I began to get afraid that maybe I wasn't cut out for this, so I told my brain to shut up for the time being and got some sleep. What advice would you give to anyone who wants to do these challenges in the future?
Number one, don't do it unless you have all the time in the world and you're willing to spend it on something that might not work out. That's my number one advice.
Okay.
And number two, practice. Practice, practice, practice.
Practice, practice, practice. We talk about practice. I love it. Heading into day 3, 3.5 minutes behind the new world record of 13:19 by Footy wasn't a good feeling. However, sleep gave me a chance to remember something. Whenever I learn anything new, I always fixate on doing things my way, and I get really stubborn. I demonstrated this on day 1 when I refused to do anything but practice that stupid cave over and over. Once I get over that initial period of goofing off and not being very serious though, I always take advantage of my 2 weapons. These weapons are so powerful that they've kept me at the very top of Ratchet & Clank speedrunning for over a decade. I use my first weapon, my tenacity, to overcome obstacles and power through even the toughest situations. I have the grit to push through 12-hour sessions every day while maintaining laser-sharp focus. To that end, my second and much more powerful weapon is my adaptability. One of my favorite characters in all of anime is Isagi Yoichi from Blue Lock, because I relate so much to how he learns. In the soccer anime Blue Lock, Isagi is very quickly established as a character who isn't naturally good at anything. He has average dribbling, average shooting, average ball handling, average accuracy. He makes up for all of it by having eyes that can perfectly analyze the strengths and weaknesses of the players around him. Like all great artists, he gets better the more he steals from the geniuses around him. When I first started seriously speedrunning Ratchet & Clank 3 many years ago, I sucked. There's no use sugarcoating it. My friends made fun of me for it all the time, and at first I was so insecure about it. But one day I realized something that changed my entire perspective of speedrunning. They were right. Even after months of trying and practicing my heart out, I was way worse than everyone else. So just like my king Isagi, I started studying other people's runs and stealing their strats without apology. I eventually surpassed all of my friends and became arguably the greatest Ratchet & Clank speedrunner of all time. Back to Redguard, I watched the runs of my fellow competitors and started absorbing everything they did differently than me. The lines, the tricks, the movement began to actually make sense. There were new techniques I began to add to my arsenal as well. The biggest one by far was the double jump. If you jump forward and hold jump as you land, you'll get a little baby jump with almost no speed. Instead, you can hold forward, jump, and the walk button, and you get like stuck in the air for a little bit and hop forward again with no speed loss. This trick is super important in a couple of spots at the end of the run, like here on the way to the boss. However, I started putting them everywhere in the run. They were super fun to do because of how easy they were, and they created some really interesting lines. Holy shit. Somebody clip that. I gotta do that every time. That's so fucking optimal. I also started to realize how I was supposed to be doing the sword fights. At first, I held the slash button and spammed jump. The problem here is that enemies would block my attacks all the time. Instead, I could slash as I was coming down to the ground to get a low slash that couldn't be blocked. Finally, I learned all about the Cupid Shuffle, and no, I'm not talking about the terrible song they play at middle school dances and bar mitzvahs. I'm talking about what can happen here on these boats. At the end of certain areas, you give gold to the skeleton boatman and he takes you to the next area. However, something really fun can happen. Your character model has to be in the exact right spot to give the skeleton the gold. If he's not in the right spot, he'll do the Cupid Shuffle to get there. This loses nearly 1 second per shuffle and can sometimes be outrageously stupid. By studying other runners, I learned the right spots to put Cyrus on the boat to avoid the Cupid Shuffle. It's basically impossible to be 100% consistent at this, but I got a lot better. Excitedly, I stopped practicing and began runs, and almost immediately lowered my time by 3.5 minutes, all the way down to 13:40. My progress stalled for the rest of the day, but I finally had the confidence boost I needed. My weapons were ready for war.
I would say my biggest strength is being able to problem solve. In a game that is new and is constantly having all these new discoveries and a lot of things aren't fully understood, I feel like I was able to have a really open mindset to trying to understand all these strats being found and how they work and, you know, new time saves. You know, a lot of people would just blame it on the game. Instead, I would be like, I'm not going to blame it on the game. I'm going to figure out why this actually happens and, you know, fix the problem. But when I saw this game, I had a good feeling about it. I was like, you know what? I can probably do something good here. And when I got my first world record on day 4, it kind of rewired my mind from being like, I'm the underdog to, you know what? Maybe I could actually win this.
Oh my god! Yes! Oh my god!
Entering the 4th day, my head was held high. I had a ton of runs on excellent pace, and I ended up smashing my PB. Not just once or even twice, but 3 times. I took my time down from 13:40 to 13:20, then to 13:04, and finally 12:37. Oh my god, I was 1 second off world record. No way. Oh man. 12:37. This is the first run that I'd say I'm proud of so far. I was 1 second off the world record, which was held by WiiSuper, the LEGO Star Wars runner I mentioned before. He had a 12:36 and was a really cool dude. Despite all the money on the line, people like him and another runner named Shrando went out of their way to share info about strats and routes and helped all players both save time and feel welcome in the competition.
That was something that I took very seriously, was making all these spreadsheets where I tracked everyone's goals. I tracked all the best split times everyone had ever gotten, because I wanted to know if something happened, how this person did it, when they did it, exactly how it was done. I could have just made these spreadsheets because, you know, $10,000 competition, I could have kept all this information to myself, but I'm like, that doesn't really feel like the right thing to do. I'm going to share this with everybody and, you know, share all my data collection and all my findings, because it's not going to feel like a fair competition if I don't.
On the 5th day, there was no way I was going to slow down. Though runner Grandius had lowered the record to 12:17, I wasn't discouraged. Once again, I had several runs on good pace, and about 6 hours into my stream, something amazing happened. Please, man. Holy shit. That was a terrible fight. But that's world record. I was so happy that I even called my mom to let her know, since she was supporting me with love and food during this challenge.
Hey, Mom.
Hey, Mom.
You?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. You have special news?
I do have special news for you. I just got world record. So
Oh my god.
don't get too excited, because there's still a long way to go before this challenge is over. So I'm just gonna keep practicing, playing hard, doing my absolute best, and yeah. So this is
Awesome.
the first step on hopefully the way to something very cool. Feeling confident, I even called my shot. My first world record, but certainly not my last. There was, however, a problem. So I do this weird thing when I play games seriously, where I play with no game audio at all. I sit there for hours grinding the same games over and over in complete silence. Now, during the challenge, I was listening to Spotify since the game itself wasn't exactly non-stop entertainment. Still, I had game audio completely muted. With that said, an experienced runner like myself should have known better. Moderators who are doing their job correctly should never accept runs without game audio, since it would be so easy to splice different runs together like it's the speedrunning version of Frankenstein's monster. You know I'm not cheating, and I know I'm not cheating, but I can't exactly prove I'm not cheating to anyone else. Since there was no audio, my new world record couldn't be accepted. However, the mods graciously cut me a break. They'd let my 1209 stand for now, since they never made concrete rules on game audio for the challenge, but once it got beaten, they'd remove it. From that point on, I made sure to play game audio at 1 volume so that I could still listen to Spotify without risk of illegal speedruns. Day 6 was a complete whirlwind. I woke up to a fat new world record, 12 minutes flat by Kisimov. The game was looking like it was about to hit its last minute barrier, sub 12 minutes. Whoever would be the person to break that barrier could potentially run away with a ton of momentum into the second week, and everyone wanted to be the one to do it. Well, gamers, let me tell you something. Not only would that barrier be broken today, it would be absolutely shattered. If I was intimidated by Kisimov's 12-minute run, imagine how gutted I felt when Bob Toad clocked in a mammoth of a run, 11:48.
That was an amazing run.
That's a historical run. Holy.
This story's been missing something, though. While there are so many amazing runners in the hunt for victory, there's no such thing as a great hero story without a final boss. And today, gamers, the final boss would show himself. Before I even got a chance to be blown away by Bob Toad's 11:48, another runner would explode into the top spot. That runner was YoAndy. Needless to say, I felt completely crushed. A lot of people are going to see this run and lose hope. I legitimately had no idea how he was so much better than me, but I knew I needed to learn everything I could about YoAndy, and fast. I quickly found out that he's the reigning Moist champion, getting first place in the last challenge, Exodus from the Earth, without even breaking a sweat. What I found out next, though, was even more shocking to me. YoAndy is my complete polar opposite. Where I need to steal other people's strats to get good, YoAndy naturally understands speedrunning by seeing fast lines I'm unable to see. Where I choose to play patiently and make small improvements to my game, YoAndy only goes for the hardest strats all the time. Where I continue runs that don't have very good early games, he resets over the tiniest mistakes. His aggressive style is why he hasn't made an appearance until now. He was resetting over and over all week trying to get one good run with all the current strats. It's why his PB rocketed to an 1140 all the way from a 1251.
So instead of just being like, oh, I'll figure it out eventually, I kind of had the philosophy of, I will work this out now so that I know when I'm bad, I know why I'm bad, and I can play better.
Yeah.
And I have those like thousands of attempts to work out and stop doing those bad things that I notice I'm doing because I know I'm doing it, rather than just like, well, when you were playing, you kind of make some mistakes, but you might not pick up on it because you've not spent the time looking into it in the early game especially. So yeah, I do think we have like exact opposite perspectives on that.
So I decided to pick Unity's run apart and break down every single thing that he did better than me. It was a complete eye-opener. In the bridge and palace sections, I was monkey mode double jumping everywhere thinking that it was fast, but he was doing calculated and well-placed jumps that consistently destroyed my best paces. During this intense study session, something else happened that was really annoying. My viewers were comparing my and Unity's runs, and they kept saying it looked like my game was running slower than his. Like, he literally gets to the same jump a half second faster than I do by just walking. For the first time in history, Twitch chat was actually right. My game was running slower than Unity's. About 1% slower on average, to be precise. Do you remember that patch file that we had to install to get the game to actually run? Well, it turns out the patch had a chance of installing incorrectly. Because of this random error, I was losing about 7 seconds on average over the course of every run. After I reinstalled the patch, I noticed immediate results. Dude, that was literally lightning fast. I was getting best segments on every split and saving enormous chunks of time from all of Unity's strats that I stole. My goal was to rise to the level of the final boss, but in his mind, I was just some guy getting lucky times. He was still much better than me, and I'd have a ways to go until I proved I was a worthy rival. And even though I had improved a ton, I only managed to close out a 12:04, a 5-second improvement over my 12:09. I straight up lost 20 seconds in the final split. Still, I knew it was only a matter of time until I surpassed Unity's 1140.
If you're going for the challenges, you should like always be prepared to like push your limits, just not give up. That's probably the most important things. And learn from others, that's also really important. Like some people would think, oh, I can like find the best way, but sometimes you just have to look from others and learn from them. And yeah, I don't think that you can be the best. To be the best, I think you have to learn from the best, you know?
Unity had landed an 11:36 just a few hours prior. Would have been world record just a couple of hours ago. But that's okay. But that's f***ing okay, baby! I knew I could f***ing do it! The job's not done! Unity had landed an 11:36 just a few hours prior. I was so close to catching up, and after a few more hours, something incredible happened. Let's f***ing go! Let's f***ing go! Let's f***ing go! Let's f***ing go! I f***ing knew I could do it! 11:30. I was finally solidly in the lead. Unity could no longer deny my skill, and he wasn't too happy about it. Even though I was on his map, Unity still refused to respect me. One of the major reasons why is that even though my late game was a bit more consistent than his early game absolutely smushed mine. Whenever I speedrun a game, I always practice the late game the most because they're the segments that I encounter the least in actual runs. When I've got a good beginning, I want to know that I can clutch up. Unity, on the other hand, resets like a maniac over tiny mistakes in the beginning of the run, so naturally he has tons and tons of practice in the beginning. But I refuse to be seen as weak anymore. Just like all those years ago when my Ratchet friends made fun of me for being bad, I realized that Unity's refusal to recognize me was something I could learn from. I couldn't be this much worse than him at nearly half of the game and command his respect. This is when my adaptability was tested the most. From this point on, I devoted 100% of my practice and study time to the early game. I tore down everything I thought I knew about the early game and rebuilt it from the ground up. The biggest thing I learned is that the shop at the beginning of the run was my silent killer. Unity was saving 3 seconds on me here using a trick called dialogue skip. You see, when approaching the shopkeeper, you can rapidly skip through all the dialogue if you hold the walk button as you talk to him. The hard part is getting into the walking animation without accidentally making Cyrus do some weird crap that loses you a bunch of time. This exact same dialogue skip works at the beginning of the game too. After beating the fight, you turn Cyrus away as a guy tries to talk to you. Cyrus then gets stuck in a turning animation and you can mash through the dialogue. Getting a handle on dialogue skipping improved my paces so much. There was one more big innovation, resurrection glitch. If you quick save as you die, you get back up and are for some reason able to walk up steep slopes. In the route, you already climb up past a fire and a chimney and then you jump down into a courtyard full of guards just a little bit later. By taking 90 damage on the fire and then jumping out into the palace courtyard and letting the fall damage kill you, you could just walk up the walls and get straight to Richten. Over the next few days, Unity and I would trade blows back and forth like rock'em sock'em robots. First, he got an 1130.1, which beat me by literally 1/10 of a second. Then, I played like a demon. The job is not done. We are not fucking done here. Another fucking step on the way. Another fucking step on the way to 1117. Unity would soon get an 1126, but he wasn't using modified res glitch, calling it a strat for bitches. This meant that he had a ton of trouble getting anything else going with the unreliable double jump strat at the end. And this, dear viewers, is when something incredible happened. For the first time this entire challenge, the tables had turned. I was no longer stealing strats from other runners. Instead, everyone started stealing modified res glitch from me. Even Unity swallowed his pride and learned it. He adapted too and was able to get an 1122. Despite this, the challenge began to take a toll on me. The fatigue and stress was starting to severely impact my body. The lack of sunlight and exercise sent me spiraling into a bad depression. I couldn't eat or sleep properly. Between the start of the challenge and now, I had lost 8 pounds. I needed to end this challenge strong, but I wasn't sure I'd even be able to make it to the finish line. There was one more monkey wrench thrown into the mix. Someone found a new strategy less than 24 hours before the challenge ended. A 3-second time save in the graveyard where you grab a potion while activating the skeleton cutscene. 3 seconds isn't much, but this new strat gave everyone else more room to catch up. Going to bed that night, I did not sleep very easily. It was time for the final day. I was so afraid of losing, but I refused to let my fears control me. I wanted the end of the challenge to be an experience that I could walk away from with no regrets. So, when I set up my stream on the last day, I decided that I wasn't going to be distracted by anything. Not my splits, not the leaderboard, not even my own Twitch chat. The next 12 hours would just be me and the game. I didn't know what anyone on the outside was thinking or saying, but I did my best to put on a show. Tons of other streamers and runners hosted me for their viewers to see, including the big moist man himself. Why am I getting a call right now? Hello?
Dude, guess who just raided you?
Who?
MoistCritical.
Wait, what the f***, actually?
Look at your view count.
Wait, really?
I'm dead fucking serious. Look at your views.
Hi, Charlie. All right, thanks, Lukey. I appreciate that.
Alright, see you later, idiot.
Dude, what do you mean, idiot? I'm not looking at my fucking chat. Oh my god. Kim. Despite the shitters, there were many more people who were mesmerized by the insane sweatiness of the stream. I had literally thousands of people watching, which is so many more than I'm used to. I kept running better and better as the day went on. Despite being on pace over and over, I couldn't close it out. I was convinced at least one person had beaten me by this point, so I played as if I had nothing to lose. It was a truly unforgettable experience, and the best part wouldn't even happen until the last hour of the event. At about 11:15 p.m., I knew I only had a few more attempts left. The tension was ridiculously high, but I was on a run. I was heartbroken, thinking I may have blown my last chance at a new world record. But at 11:59, 1 minute before the deadline, something happened that felt like it was out of a movie. I'm gonna have to take this. It's now or never. I died on the fucking fire. To this day, I'm still not sure if it was because the game ate my input or if I made a timing mistake. I can say for certain though, I wasn't nervous at all during this run. This was one of those rare times where I was completely locked in. As soon as I choked, I wished that I had more time to savor the moment. I truly felt alive during that run, and I just wanted to keep playing to the end. So, the big question. What place did I get? I don't actually know. Also, I'm going to turn alerts on. I got third. This was all for nothing. It was all for nothing. Well, congratulations to Kisimov. And congratulations to Unity as well. Unfortunately, not only had Unity beaten me, but so did Kisimov, the Bulgarian source runner who played 18 hours a day. Crazily enough, they got an exact tie, 11:19.68, beating me by less than half a second, the most expensive half second of my entire life. For my troubles, I won $1,500 for third place. Not enough to fund my dreams, but still enough to help out. And even though I didn't win, I have no regrets. I gave 100% of myself to this challenge, and I didn't let things like money or fear control how I got to live this once-in-a-lifetime moment. I got to prove to everyone, including myself, that I really am one of the best speedrunners in the world. I fought for my dreams tooth and nail, and even though it wasn't enough this time, I'm only going to continue to get stronger. I also got to meet a ton of amazing people that I never would have met otherwise. That's honestly what speedrunning is all about. The journey, the sportsmanship, and the friends you make along the way. But you don't have to take my word for it. Instead, check out what happened right after the challenge ended. I'm gonna have a lot of things to say about this, but for now, I gotta go join these fledglings so we can all fly together and get rid of this stupid fucking game forever.
Someone get Zeman out of the fucking...
I'm here. I just...
Dude, that's too many people.
Alright, someone
Holy shit, what a hand.
Justin,
why did you call that?
Oh god.
One. Fucking uninstalled.
No!
Yeah. Get rid of it, dude.
Gone.
Good.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
cheater.
gone.
I
don't
understand
why
you
uninstalled
the game.
It's gone.
It's gone.
Great game.
I think it's gone. It's over.
It's gone forever.
Oh yeah, it's gone.
While this was an experience I'll never forget, I have serious issues with this competition. The 2-week non-stop format is absolutely brutal, and I will not be doing it again unless there are some serious changes. I suffered physically from weight loss and lack of sleep, and I fell into a deep depression for about a month after the challenge. This format is torture, and I say that as somebody who actually made money. Imagine being in the shoes of so many other runners who streamed for about 200 hours and didn't make a single cent. Now, I understand that these people are choosing to do this, but it's because they choose to do this that I believe that Charlie and his mods need to treat these runners with more respect.
When Exodus was happening, whenever he was streaming and he had like a browser up or something, you could see he had a tab open for the boards of Exodus, like every time. He didn't have that for Redguard, and he didn't go and watch people outside of streams on Redguard.
Even if it's a little bit less optimized, I'm okay with that, and structuring it so that there's a general idea of when the next challenge is going to be with the teaser. It would be so nice for all the runners.
My suggestion, a 10-day format. Charlie began this challenge by uploading a YouTube video on a random Wednesday and said,
"It's time to get started. Let's hop back in the saddle here."
And I think that's stupid. Instead, announce on a Monday that the challenge will begin on Friday. This way, people have time to get ready for the challenge. Then, on Friday, tell everyone what the game is and start the challenge. Start that weekend, go the whole week, and then end the challenge the next Sunday. Having it start on a weekend lets more people try it and see if they actually want to commit to it. And it takes 4 days of pressure off of the runners. Now, this might not seem like much, but if people are playing 16 hours a day, that's 64 less hours of pressure off of their shoulders. Now, Charlie, if you're watching this, I want to speak to you directly for a second. Now, if I'm going to keep it $150, many of the other runners and I agreed that it felt like you weren't super invested in this challenge. Shaking things up with my new format could be fun, though. The first weekend, you can have us plastered all over your stream as we're trying to go through the motions of learning all this. It's chaotic and it's strange and it's weird, but it's cool content. Then, you know, during the week, just do your own thing. We get it. The middle of a challenge is always the most boring part. But then, the final weekend, that's free real estate. You can plan your whole weekend around when you want to watch us on your stream, sweating it out with the top runners and watching anybody on a good paced run. You get to show off high stakes content, we're happy you're giving us attention, and your viewers are excited they get to see something cool and new. That's my 2 cents. You can take it or leave it. If you enjoyed this crazy journey and want to help me make the rest of the money I need to move to Europe, please consider subscribing to the channel and liking this video. I also want to thank all my supporters on Patreon, as well as everyone on Twitch who rooted for me every step of the way. The only thing that could ruin the video at this point is if skeletons somehow popped out of the ground, but thank God that's not gonna— oh my God!